Welcome to Sunday Ripple. I'm Rob Anderson. Each week we explore scripture and the ripples it can create on our everyday lives. Sometimes we're going to reflect on Sunday's message. Sometimes we'll dive into other passages that speak to where we are. Whether you're a Christian or just tuning in for a thoughtful conversation, this podcast is here to help you reflect and grow and keep the message moving through your week. Let's get into it. Hey friends, welcome back to Sunday Ripple. I'm Rob Anderson, and this is the podcast where we believe small ripples can make a big impact. Today, we're pulling up a chair to the start of a brand new series called The Table. Now, before you picture a Pinterest-perfect dinner party with matching napkins and a charcuterie that deserves its own zip code, take a breath. That's not what this is about. This is about something deeper. Hospitality in the way that Jesus lived it. The kind that says, you matter, you belong, there's room for you. Now, this episode's a little different, and I am super excited because I have a guest today, someone that embodies this heart so well. It's Pastor Matt McCarter. Matt, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Rob. So glad to be here.
I am super pumped to have you here. What have you been looking forward to this recording time?
Well, I love time with you, but I also love people hearing my voice. So let's go.
Okay. All right. Do you love hearing your own voice?
I don't know.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out because I have to listen to this afterward, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so do I. So
it's going to be great.
All right. So today's episode is called Room for One More, and we're talking about God's heart for the outsider, for the overlooked, for the left out, the person hanging on in the margins. And honestly, I really can't think of a better person to explore this with than you.
Oh, man. I'm honored to be here.
I am honored to have you. So let's kick things off here. Can you remember a time when someone literally made room for you at their table? I guess physically or even just metaphorically. And what did that moment do for you?
Yeah, so I had a couple different stories in mind, just in talking about what hospitality looks like. But the earliest example of that would be my grandmother. There's a difference between, I think in modern construction, we have big open areas and we have one table typically. But in my grandmother's house, she had a kitchen table and she had a dining room table. And the whole family.
That's funny. My grandma had something like that too.
Yeah. So you didn't go in the dining room unless it was like a special event. It's Thanksgiving, Christmas,
right.
There's furniture in there that you can't sit on. But the kitchen table is where you experience something more intimate. It's where grandma made you a meal that was specific for you, that she was inviting you into a meal to touch your heart in a way.
Oh, that's cool.
And my grandmother both my parents worked from a young age, or when I was little, and she took care of me up until grade school. And when I went into grade school, when I went into first grade and kindergarten, she actually got a job at my school and became the lunch lady.
Oh my goodness.
She was the head lunch lady. And so I went to school with this quote unquote privilege of knowing the lunch lady, and I got special reign wherever I went. I wasn't just a kid that was known by the staff because I was a kid there. I was known because I was Pauline's grandson, her first grandson, and so it made me feel like I belonged there in a way that I don't think typical elementary school kids feel like they belong in that school.
Yeah.
And so I experienced that in a public setting, but also in a private setting at her kitchen table. So, she set the example of that, of welcoming me into her home and intentionally meeting my needs.
Yeah.
Through caring for me, but also making meals, doing my homework with me,
Right. That's really cool.
Special.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool though. The kitchen table was sort of that really, that intimate space.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like, and that's exactly that. Tables really like that are really sacred spaces. I love, we can celebrate, we can argue, we can grieve, we can connect around a table.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about the dining room table sitting behind me. We've only been in this house for 6 months or 9 months. We've already done all those things at the dining room table.
Yeah.
But that's like who you let into that space, like with your grandma letting you in, who you let into that space at your table really speaks volumes.
Right.
In your experience, what does that look like to sort of set the table with intention like that, like like your grandmother did? Have you had any experience with that personally, like being able to be that owner of the table, if you will?
Mm-hmm. What, and thinking about, what we're going to talk about with the table, I was just considering how much Jesus used the table as his platform. And I don't know that it was necessarily at a table, but the purpose of being at the table is to break bread together,
Right.
and the connection there with communion, the breaking of bread, which is an admission of need. And so anytime you come to the table, you are actually sharing a common human experience with someone else to say, I am in need, and I would like to share that common human need with you, that we need some external substance to fill us up. And so just opening up your door and inviting someone in to break that bread and share your space with them is a way to inviting them into a deeper connection that does not happen when you're walking past someone in the store or in public. And so it's just something that I enjoy so much, not just the act of making a meal, but in sharing it with someone else. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. There is a huge difference between hospitality, which is kind of what you were describing, and entertaining.
Right.
I think that we get stuck thinking that hospitality means that we have to impress people. And when we actually look at scripture, it gives us something so much more like that's honest and earthy in there.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about Genesis 18. There's a handful of scriptures I think I shared with you about sort of what that looks like, entertaining versus hospitality. And in Genesis 18, you've got Abraham that's hosting just strangers underneath of a tree. It's like, have you when you've considered like your own home, obviously you've got young kids. It's not like you're going to invite all the homeless people over to just have dinner at your table, because there's some intentional things we have to be a little protective about.
That's right.
But the table doesn't necessarily have to be at our home. It could be at a restaurant or something like that. Have you ever experienced anything like that where you've just like found somebody that you didn't know or that needed a meal or something, and you were like, hey, I've got time. Let's go sit down and eat dinner together.
Yes, absolutely. I had a good friend of mine, a guy that discipled me early on in my finding Jesus and beginning to walk with him, who taught me about homeless ministry, getting out of your home and doing something in a public space. And I went to college in Columbia, South Carolina, and lived there for a number of years afterwards. That was where I started my career in insurance, and lived there before becoming a believer. Met this guy named Harvey, and he introduced me to prayer and homeless ministry and prayer walks in town. And all of a sudden just had this heart to respond to people who were asking for money in a different way.
Sure.
Prior to that, you're an annoyance. Please move away from me. I'm at a gas station just trying to get gas and move on to the next thing. And so I went from Jesus transformed my heart to actually want to meet the needs for those people. And I met one guy on the street, and he's asking me for food. And so I said, hey, why don't you and I just go to Cookout together and eat a meal? Here I am in this restaurant, this fast food restaurant, sitting down, asking this guy what he wants, go over and order it, sit down and eat it. And I never saw that guy again, but I don't know anyone else who's not only given someone money, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but like not just giving them money, but actually sat down and watched them eat food.
You don't know anybody else?
No.
Oh, you're going to love this story then. So I'm up in Anchorage and Laura and the kids were out of town. I don't know where they were. And it was late. probably 8, 9 o'clock. I was actually going to be preaching filling in for our head pastor. He was out of town also that weekend. And so I was going through, prepping all my sermon notes and everything. And I was hungry, and I was like, I'm going to go grab just a quick McDonald's burger. McDonald's right around the corner.
Yeah.
So I pull into the parking lot, and there's this guy who's like, it's like, hey, do you have a few bucks maybe you can spare for dinner? And I was like, how about this? You just come on in and I'll just buy you dinner, and we can sit down and we can eat. And he's like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah. He bought, I don't know, 3 or 4 different things. He was clearly very hungry. And I was just like, whatever you want, it's fine. I got it.
Get it.
And I got the couple of McDoubles or whatever that I wanted. And we sat down, and we're just sitting there talking like you and I are talking now. And he starts just pouring out a story. And he's like, I just got out of the hospital today. They were running a bunch of tests, and I have like stage 4 cancer. And they told me like probably like 3 or 4 days is all I've actually got left to live. And I don't know how to tell my kids. They haven't seen me in years. And like my daughter's here in Anchorage. I don't know where. He just continues to go. And I was just listening and just talking with him. I'm like, man, that's heavy. That's a lot. Like, you are going through it right now.
Yeah.
And he looks at me. This cracked me up. He looks at me and he's like, man, God sure sent you to me at just the right time. Are you an angel? And
that's actually what I was just thinking. The scriptures say you're unaware that there are angels among you.
Right. And I was like, no, I'm not an angel. I'm just a regular guy. And you were hungry, and I was willing to buy you dinner. That's all this is. But I'm glad that like the Lord could touch you, and like I'll be praying for you and this relationship with your daughter and all these things.
Right.
And then we went our separate ways, and I never saw him again.
Yeah.
And it was like, the wild thing was when he like pulled out the test results that he had gotten from the hospital.
Wow.
So it's not like he might've been feeding me a line, but then he shows me these test results, and I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's dying right in front of me.
Yeah.
And I'm giving him a fillet of fish or something. It's just like,
well, here's the thing is that we're all actually dying. Yeah. We're all moving towards death. And I think when we think about expressing our beliefs to other people with words, for a lot of people, that's too complicated. It's too much of a leap. But to pull out a chair and to say, hey, come just sit with me for a minute, is a communication of the gospel in a tangible way that meets the needs of someone else that they won't typically experience in life. You know, I mean, our culture is set up to do everything alone.
Oh yeah.
Even as you walk through the grocery store or the hardware store,
put on noise canceling headphones, get the things on your list, and leave.
Don't make eye contact. Yeah. You probably shouldn't even talk to the employees there. You know, like, just get your thing and move on to the next thing. And so to do something that outstanding, to say, hey, will you come share a meal with me? Right. Not just hand something off and pass them on, actually might be more powerful than a few momentary seconds of communicating an idea to them.
Oh yeah. And that's St. Francis that said, preach the gospel at all times, when necessary, use words. Mm-hmm. It's like, if you can actually present the gospel to another person without ever having to actually speak the name of Jesus,
right?
Like, that might be the only expression of Jesus they ever get to experience in their entire lives.
Right. Yeah.
A fish sandwich from McDonald's for a homeless guy that's going to die in the end of the week.
Yeah. I think the technical term is fillet of fish.
Fillet of fish. Okay. So let's get real for a moment, though. When we look around our own tables, our friendships, our rhythms, even our churches, who's missing?
The people that are missing are anyone outside the nuclear family. We've become a culture of cliques. And we invite in the people that we're comfortable with. And most of the time that excludes the closest people in our neighborhoods, on our streets. If they aren't related to me, they're typically not in my home.
Right.
But how often is it that the person across the street is sitting at my table?
Right.
How often is it that someone that I don't know anything about is in my home, sharing a meal or doing anything? Culturally, we have let the idea of individuality and not needing other people take over what we say we believe as Christians. And it is affecting the way that we live our lives.
Right. Well, it's all the church of me, right? It's all about whatever I feel is right and whatever makes sense for me. And that usually it means that it's uncomfortable for me to talk to people I don't know. So I just don't have to, because I don't think that's right. It makes me uncomfortable, and I don't want to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. Anything that's making me uncomfortable, anything that's causing me to risk something, we typically land in a place of seeing that as not worthwhile. Yeah.
It's super, super easy for us to just settle into our comfort zones.
Yeah.
And it's like hospitality, though, is it's a resistance to that. It's very countercultural, and it's kingdom. It's big. Yeah. It's big.
Yeah.
I read this, sent this article to you earlier today, and that article really got under my skin. It's like for listeners here, there's this church in New Jersey that wanted to use its own land to build a transitional housing for people that are experiencing homelessness.
So the church owns the property.
The church owns the property. They wanted to put a facility in that had 17 beds, and just give people basic dignity and a place to sleep and a fresh start. That was the goal that they had, and it's that was on mission for what that church wanted to do. And instead of supporting that effort, the city really pushed back. Neighbors were concerned that they were going to have homeless people that were smokers that were maybe going to flick a cigarette onto their lawn and burn their house down. Literally, that was something that somebody testified when this older lady was like, they're going to burn my house down because they smoke.
Yeah.
But there was actually a local official that introduced an ordinance that would let the city basically annex the land using eminent domain.
Wow.
And then they wanted to put in a pickleball court instead.
I mean, I do love me some pickleball.
But do you love pickleball more than you love people?
There are plenty of spaces for pickleball courts.
Right. And it seemed absolutely absurd to me but that's the culture that we live in.
Yeah.
We live in let's marginalize people that make us uncomfortable and try to push them as far out of our field of view as possible so that we don't have to feel guilty about not helping them.
Yeah. Yeah. The world teaches you to put up a facade to make everything look good.
Right. If it's not good on Instagram.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Hide anything that would cause me to appear less than.
Right.
And we do that by putting up barricades. And that's what is happening in this article in New Jersey. Let's not invite the homeless person who has needs, because that will be unattractive, not only to the people who are just passing by, but it will be difficult for me to live in an environment where I see that every day. It's a nuisance to me.
But it is. It actually is.
It actually is. Yeah. It is actually hard to see other people in such desperate need and ignore it.
And know that I have the ability to affect change in their lives, but I am selfish and I don't want to.
That's right. So I see a need, and really it's not necessarily the need that is the problem, but it is my heart's reaction to the need that is the problem. And you are convicted because you know that there's human God-given dignity in that person, whether or not they appear to have it together. But my heart says, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to I have my own issues to deal with. I have my own problems. How am I going to extend a helping hand to someone else?
Well, it's funny because even in that same sort of vein, I was wrestling with that with my son over this weekend. Friday night or Saturday night, we were chatting because Sunday morning we had Serve the City. And so with Serve the City, not all, but most of the Homer churches get together. We have volunteer projects, and we don't do Sunday morning service. We get volunteer projects for various organizations around the community that need help, landscaping work or whatever it is.
Yeah.
A lot of it, because it's easy to do, is landscaping stuff or landscaping adjacent in some fashion. Maybe we're painting a facade or something somewhere too. Who knows, right? Yeah. But my son did not want to volunteer, not because he didn't want to volunteer, but because it was just like none of the things were interesting or fun for him.
Yeah.
And one of the great things about where he goes to school is that you have to have 40 hours of volunteer hours before you can graduate. It's a it's like, that's a requirement and you have to have it all signed off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is a great chance for you to just get like 3 or 4 hours of volunteer that you don't, and because he has 0. Tomorrow's the last day of school and he has had 0 hours.
Yeah.
And so here he is with this opportunity to just bank some easy hours that he's going to end up doing anyway. But we had to talk about it. And it was like, at the end of it, I said, here's what needs to happen. You need to wrestle with your own heart because yes, volunteers are needed because it's work nobody wants to do.
Right.
And that means that you're not going to want to do it and I'm not going to want to do it, but we're going to go do it out of the goodness of our own hearts. And if you're having trouble figuring out that with your own heart, then you need to wrestle with God. Right. And you need to have a conversation and ask him to change your heart. And I just sort of left him to sit with that and was like, I'm going to go to bed. I love you. Good night. And I went to bed. And he was just like, he just sat there in the living room and was like, I don't know what to do.
But that's what's happening not only when we look at a homeless ministry across the street, that's what's happening when we pass by people that we're in community with.
It doesn't even have to be homeless people.
It's not homeless. It's not homeless people. It's just a person that looks different than me that I don't really know that well. And yet what happens when you you open the door and you slide the chair open for someone to come to your table? You actually invite them to become known.
Yeah.
In that space. And when you actually know someone, you realize that they're not that much different than you. Their clothing might be different. Their skin color might be different. They may have a different accent. But the shared human experience is very much the same. There is no one on this earth that you cannot relate to. And it's in that relational connection that you have with someone where you can more adequately express verbally, this was my need of the gospel and Jesus dying on a cross. And I see that you share that need too. And here's the hope of that. And so what more powerful way could we have to break down the facade? Because we realize that the world is putting up a facade and it's fake.
So that article, though, it reminded me of something from years and years and years ago. I was growing up, I was a part of this conservative sort of farming community church, really, really conservative. And we got a new pastor, and the pastor started to do a vacation Bible school. It was the first time anything had been done with kids in mind at that church in my recollection. And at this point, I think I was probably in middle school or maybe high school. I think I was a middle schooler though, because I think I was still participating in the vacation Bible school. And so we did that for a few years. And there was one year that, when I say like the church ladies, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Okay. They're the ones that sort of run the show behind the scenes, whatever. So one of the church ladies actually said out loud, I'm not kidding, what if we made Vacation Bible School invitation only this year?
Oh, wow.
But she didn't stop there. She said, that way we can get a higher class of children.
Yeah.
And like, when I heard about that, I was stunned.
Yeah.
Like those were literally her words. She wanted a higher class of children.
Wow.
And like when I reflect on that really revealed what was at her own table. And which she was afraid. There's classism that's at her table.
Yeah.
Like how terrible would that be to live in, but be totally ignorant of all of these things.
Yeah.
control definitely was something she wanted to be able to control who was there. And I think about how many families that she had interacted with in some fashion in the community that never got to experience the love of Jesus because like it was outside of her comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like, if they didn't fit in her little box, like, oh my gosh. But like that story just blows me away. When I still think about that, I'm like, oh my gosh. She's still at that church. She's still one of the church ladies.
Yeah.
But it's like, for me, the kingdom irony is that Jesus was the outsider.
Yeah.
He was the one that didn't fit.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't fit into any box or cultural norm at the time.
Yeah. And he didn't fit for the exact opposite reason. He's too holy to take on our form, and yet he does it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So that blew me. As I was thinking about that article, though, I was like, oh my gosh, like there's another perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Of just what and it's just silly when we consider who's missing from our tables and who we're intentionally excluding from our own tables because it makes us uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So much of this series is about reclaiming our tables as places where the kingdom gets to break in and say, you matter, and there's room for you.
Yeah.
Do you have a story about like where your table, or maybe even just you observing somebody else's table, where like that became kind of one of those spaces?
I was a fraternity guy in college, and I did all the things that were fraternity related. And then Jesus came and got me later on. And right at the beginning of my early 30s, I had chased down everything that was the world had to offer and found it lacking, and then came to the Lord. But I was the guy in the fraternity that planned all the events, you know, and put things together. And I continued to do that throughout my 20s with the guys that I was friends with after college, and in early adult life. And when I met Jesus, that just transformed into a different community. It wasn't that I left the community, but I had new interests and new passions, and I pursued those with the people who wanted to go along with that. And so, after school in the college in the South is a lot of college football, right? And so we would go tailgating. I lived 5 minutes from the stadium in Columbia. And so everyone expected me to either have a party at my house or be at the tailgate. And so after the game, I left early because I was hosting a Bible study at my house that night. And my friends from college were at first just confused as to why I would leave the tailgate so early. And when I just said, sorry, I have to go, they became increasingly unsettled, is maybe a nicer way of putting it, as to why I would go home. And finally, I told them, I'm going home to host a Bible study. And so I would go home. I have some of my church friends over, and we're reading scripture together. And then all of a sudden, two of the guys from the tailgate show up with some cases of beer, and they sit down at the table and join us in the Bible study.
I love that. Oh my gosh.
And they came with the intention of calling me out, you know, hey, this is who you used to be. This is all ridiculous that you're participating in that. By the end of the night, those two guys are bawling.
Oh my goodness. I love that.
Yeah.
Like literally the table opened up. They came in with this motive to just be a disruption to what was happening.
Yeah.
And yet God used that as an opportunity to, and like, that's what can happen when you open your table up.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that so much. I guess it's been 18 months ago or something like that now. Maybe a little longer. Sometime I think in 2023, you had preached a sermon on hospitality. It might have been January 24. I think it was towards the end of 23 though. You'd preach this sermon on hospitality, and so that was sort of what the church was aiming for the year, was just like focus on this idea of real hospitality, Jesus hospitality, or what we're talking about. We're opening our tables up. And so that was on my mind. Mm-hmm. And I've shared the story with you, of course. I mean, you were there.
It's a great story.
You were there. But it's January in Homer, Alaska, and everything's covered in snow and ice. And so I'm walking, we leave church, I'm walking out to my car and slip on the ice and hit my head. I knocked myself out briefly and black out a little bit. I sort of am holding my head, and I'm in the fetal position on the ground where everybody's just like sort of standing around watching. Like somebody came over. They were slowly made their way over because it was very slippery.
Yeah.
And with hospitality on the mind, I'm like, he's like, "Can I help you up?" And I was like, "Yeah." I put my hand out, and he helps me up. And he's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I don't know. I'm gonna go to the car and find out." Again, hospitality is what I'm thinking about though. Mm-hmm. I was like, "Thank you so much. I'm Rob Anderson. What's your name?" And I put my hand out to shake his hand, and he looks at me kind of confused, like, I think that this might be part of the concussion, maybe. Yeah. Like, what's going on? It was just like that level of just sheer openness all the time is something that ever since then I've been like, oh, like that is something that needs to be important and a big deal. And that's sort of what was the impetus for these next several episodes that we're going to be recording.
And it takes some intentionality to have that thought. You can't be hospitable if you don't have a plan to do so before you get to the moment. And that doesn't mean that you need to carve out massive amounts of time, but if you don't have it on your calendar, it probably isn't going to happen, because
that's right.
There's tons of things that are going to swoop in and steal the time. Or,
well, and I think the thing that's important too is like, you don't have to have perfect conditions to be hospitable.
That's right.
Like you could be freshly concussed, getting up off the ice and be able to say like, "Hey,
right.
Like you can be part of my community now."
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Like, I think I've only talked to him once since then.
Yeah.
But it's like mostly because I couldn't remember what he looked like. That's just all I remember was a beard.
Yeah.
But
well, you've been in the house that the really nice, really rich person's home where everything is spotless and in its place, and you feel like you don't belong.
Oh, out of place. Yeah.
You feel more at home when you're in a space that is not as perfect or as quote unquote clean. You know, there's a sock on the floor. There's a dust bunny running around, and it's
funny because Laura and I have had that conversation just recently, because she's like, sometimes I feel like our home is like too perfect. And I have always kind of thought that, because like both Laura and I keep a fairly high standard of cleanliness for our home.
Yeah.
And that can actually make it feel almost sterile. Mm-hmm. So when people come in and they're like, "Oh, thank goodness their house isn't like absolutely perfect.
These are normal people.
These are normal. Or this house is lived in."
Yeah.
You know?
I can open up in this space because I see they're normal people.
I'll try to make it a little more messy next time you come over.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, I like to end each episode with a bit of a challenge. And this week is simple. And so this is a challenge for you and a challenge for anybody who's listening. Let's identify someone who's been missing from your table and invite them in.
Man.
You know, it could be coffee, maybe just going for a walk, maybe just exchange phone numbers and just shoot them a text that says like, "Hey, I see you." Like, like, "Hi, I'm thinking about you. I'm praying for you."
Yeah.
Just simple things like that.
Yeah.
Do you have do you have anybody in mind that you're already thinking about that maybe is going to be that person?
Yeah, I think so. We recently had one of our church members pass away in a sad accident. And I was at his memorial on Sunday, and there were several people there that I saw that were, for whatever reason, I don't know yet, self-admittedly don't go to church.
Yeah.
Don't want to be a part of that. And so anyone who says that, I've been there too, where I felt like I didn't belong, and where I created barriers for myself to feel comfortable, because being in a church environment exposed me for what I thought was wrong, or what I thought they said was wrong. And so that those couple guys have been on my mind. So
nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And it's so easy to grab coffee with somebody.
Yeah.
In a world though, where building fences more than tables, every invitation is an act of resistance against that. And every act of hospitality just echoes the heart of Jesus. And that's really what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're talking about. So Matt, thanks so much for being here today. Thanks for coming in. And it's been just an absolute joy talking about hospitality with you. And I can't wait to do it again.
Glad to be here.
So next week, we're going to be looking forward into just diving into what Jesus did with meals, because he had a knack for a lot of things, but he had a knack for inviting the most unexpected guests.
Yes, he did.
So until next time, small ripples can make a big impact. So go make yours. Hey, before you go, I'd really love to hear from you. Whether this episode encouraged you or brought up a question or just made you think, you can actually send a message straight to us. It's an easy way to share your thoughts or your story or even just say hello. Just click the link in the episode description to reach out. I read every message and I'd be honored to hear how God's moving in your life.